Hello and welcome to the Fantasmagorium Show. I'm Kat, flying solo tonight. Steve might show up, we're not really sure. Scott says he can't. Ernesto's off seeing, I think, some movies himself, so we're just kind of hanging out here, and I got some 5 new movie reviews going on. First of all, hail, Comic Relief Crusader. Glad to see your support here. Uh, Words and pictures. Hello, I'm in dreamland as you read this. As I sleep, I hope your imagination and sagacity pervades my dreams. Oh, I hope so too. It'll be quite fun. Uh, so we've had 5 new movies that are out that I've seen all of them, and I thought I would give some reviews. Before I do that, a little house cleaning. I know some of you were asking about the F1 review because we had a series that we scheduled for the summer, Faster, 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 about a bunch of 70s car movies. Scott bailed on that series. I postponed it. As it stands, I'm going to get my F1 4K Steelbook in the mail next Friday. So on November 6th, I will do the F1 review, whether anybody joins me or not. But next week, I hope to do, or the next couple weeks, hope we have like a Halloween type show. We'll see what's going on. But so 5 movies came out. Let's see. So the first one I saw was Tron Ares. And to be fair to the movie, the plots of all the Tron movies aren't really that great. The first movie isn't so much dated because of its effects, but because it had a wild imagination of what the internet and inside computers were actually going to look like, and then it turned out not to be that way at all. Tron Legacy is a movie that still has a banger soundtrack, wonderful visuals, pretty weak story, which is why they don't really continue the story of the protagonist of that film. They give a really cheap reason in Tron Ares why Sam Flynn is resigned for personal reasons. As we see a new cast, you had a very simple plot. You have the evil company that wants to use AI and 3D printing for profit, and then the good company that wants to use it to solve world hunger and all that kind of stuff. And because of gobbledygook in the script, anything they can 3D print in reality can only last for 29 minutes. But both the good CEO and the rival bad CEO think that Kevin Flynn invented a permanence code, which doesn't even make sense from an internal logic standpoint, because given that Kevin disappeared in 1982, you're not thinking about a permanence code to bypass software when that was like the alpha software. It's like, okay, that doesn't really make sense. So whatever. It's a very simple story. Unfortunately, they went for a Pinocchio type story, and they even mentioned that in the movie, where Jared Leto as the AI super soldier, like, I want to be a real boy. So they're going with that, and some of the visuals of seeing Tron in the real world, or not Tron, because Tron itself is not in the movie, but seeing like the light cycles and the big Predator drone in the real world was kind of neat. But for me, they spent way too much time in the real world in this movie. The grid, both the good guy NCOM's grid, which is blue, and the Dillinger, the bad company grid, which is red, those were banger sequences. And I was watching this, and there were a bunch of shots that you could tell was shot for 3D in mind. And it's like, they should have shot it in native 3D like James Cameron does for the Avatar movies. That would have been great. Instead, they did a post-conversion 3D, and so I skipped that. I can't. I've done post-conversion 3Ds before. I can't recommend them. They're pretty bad. So I just saw it in 2D. But this is basically a theme park ride movie. The visuals are great. The action's good. As my friends and I have joked for months now, it's like, oh, they made a movie to promote the new Nine Inch Nails album. And that's basically what they do. Except for some reason, Ares, the Jared Leto character, loves Depeche Mode, so we get a lot of that music in there too, or some of it, as well as Paranoid by Black Sabbath. But for the most part, it's the visuals are great, but the story is a little, it's fine. Like I said, again, I can't knock it too much because the stories of the previous ones aren't very good. I just felt that given where AI is today and how I get the idea of combining, the idea of a 3D printer, and what if you could 3D print like AI type things? Like, okay, that's a neat idea, but I didn't think the plot was very interesting. It's basically the 2 rival CEOs trying to find the permanence code, and of course the bad CEO is willing to do bad things to try and steal it. So whatever, but I'm surprised it cost $180 million. The visuals on the grid are pretty impressive. The visual effects are banger, but it still didn't look like a $180 million movie. A lot of it was shot in like Vancouver or maybe it was Toronto, but given the amount of the movie that is set in the real world, I can't imagine that. I don't know how the budget got that high. The effects are good, but I didn't think it was that expensive. Like, it certainly didn't have the same amount of visual effects as like an Avengers Infinity War did, So, and probably won't get its money back. They do have a mid-credits teaser, But much like they didn't want to bring Sam Flynn back, despite the fact that the actor had given an interview recently and says, "Yeah, I was waiting on the phone call. I hope the movie does well." Uh, if this movie tanks, then don't expect to see them pay off any of the. I mean, they're not a lot of cliffhangers. This is like, oh yeah, the characters go on, and there's a little tease at the end, but and that's okay. I gave it 3 out of 5, and I think I gave Tron Legacy 2.5 out of 5. But it's been so long since I've seen it, I'll have to revisit it. Uh, and yes, Jeff Bridges is in the movie, kind of a glorified cameo. Well, a little longer than a cameo, but I don't know. It would have been nice if they wrote a role for him, especially the same thing with the last Tron movie, where it's like, where's Kevin Flynn, and his son wants to find him. So there's more of a personal connection there. Whereas here, it's like, Kevin's still missing, and people are kind of curious what happened to him, and it's like maybe we could have written the story more around Kevin, but whatever. Performances are okay. It's just take it or leave it. Let's see. The Tron Ares Encom scene was mind blowing. I agree. Hi, Kat. Tron 1 was boring as hell and at times boring. Tron 2 is the best, but still has a lot of problems. Yes, it does. And Tron 3 is at times boring and is tripe at times. Yes, that's true. But Tron 3's visuals are the greatest. Yeah, the effects, obviously, in the last 15 years since the previous film, Legacy, have gotten so much better. I mean, that Dillinger inside their computer systems, the red world, as I call it, looks so amazing. And the Encom sequence in blue, where you had the the fight scene between the red guys and the blue guys, is really awesome. I wish those scenes lasted longer. And it was kind of neat seeing them reinvent the 1982 Tron with modern effects. I thought that was kind of neat, even though that is also a smaller sequence. So it's like you get a little bit of all the effects. He says the IMAX 3D was insane for Tron 3. Okay, so at least the IMAX version was fine. I saw this at my regular theater, but I sat closer to the screen to make it, kind of like imitation IMAX. We might never see a Tron 4. We're not going to see a sequel immediately. I think it's going to be like what happened with Tron Legacy. They're going to wait another 10 years or whatever and then reboot it down the line. But because studio executives never take the right lessons from movies that don't make money, they think that, oh, well, it didn't work. So that must mean people didn't like the characters. Like, well, no, they just didn't like the writing for that character. Case in point, on the James Bond side of things, the movie Spectre from 10 years ago, my God, it's like a movie called Spectre. They tried to hide the fact that Blofeld was the villain. And even Christoph Waltz threw shade on his own role, saying, yeah, they didn't give me much to do. But, Barbara and Michael took the wrong lesson from it. They're like, oh, well, that must mean people don't like that character. So then they threw him under the bus in No Time to Die. It's like, no, they just didn't like the way it was written. You could have you get another director, another writer, and pep up the characters. So I was kind of disappointed that Sam Flynn didn't come back. I thought it was really cheap to just say, though, he resigned for personal reasons, which is said right in the beginning, so it's not really a spoiler. And so, yeah, so we're not going to see a proper Tron sequel to this movie, but I think that it will eventually be rebooted. They're just going to wait a long time before they do that. So that was Tron Ares. Roofman, this was a true story. As usual, when Hollywood says based on a true story, they take a lot of creative liberties. I was frankly surprised by how much they didn't actually do that in this movie, because at the end they have a lot of newsreel footage of the real people, new interviews with the real people involved. And I was shocked that a lot of the movie, beat for beat, was largely true. Like, yes, this guy broke out. He hid out in a Toys R Us. He did start dating one of the employees there. He got involved with her church. He would steal toys to donate to the church toy drive. He would steal video games from the toy store to take to the pawn shop so he could pay for dental work, because he was living off of candy in the store for a while. He did get into the manager's computer by installing like these toy security, little security camera things meant for kids that he hid inside the manager's office, so he could see the passwords that he was typing on the computer, so he could change work schedules and things. Like, he did all this stuff. And then the crazy stuff that happens as the story goes along. I mean, one thing that's working against it is, like, yes, it's a true story. I already knew how it ended. But even if you didn't, it's like, well, your ex has cut you off, and even though his daughter still wants to be with him, and she's like a little girl, he doesn't call him back after that point. But you could tell he's still connected with her. And because he can't continue that relationship, that's why he gets involved with the employee and her kids and starts dating them. And so there's that option. And then the third option is he's got his buddy from Afghanistan trying to get him a fake passport. So he's got these three things he's got to juggle. It's like, okay, get a fake passport to flee to Venezuela because he got a 45-year sentence. Not for the robberies, surprisingly. He committed like 40 robberies. They could only get him for one, but because he locked 3 of the employees in the walk-in fridge, they gave him 15-year kidnapping sentence for each one. But even those people were interviewed, and they're like, yeah, he was a really nice guy. He even gave us our jacket so we wouldn't be cold. He assured us he was going to call the police immediately when he left. And so it's kind of like, okay, is he a really bad guy, or is he just like a, kind of like a fuck up? And it's kind of like he's a fuck up. I still liked it. I have no idea why they're trying to make like an awards push for Channing Tatum. He was fine. Just because you cry a little bit as an actor, I don't think that necessarily makes it the best. Peter Dinklage was funny as the kind of the jerk manager, and Kirsten Dunst, nice to see her again. She really doesn't age; it's quite amazing. But it was funny because it was like it felt like it was an original movie. Like people complain that Hollywood doesn't make original movies anymore. Well, they do. You just don't go see them. So I would say go see it. I thought it was quite good and just a very different type of movie. I gave it teetering between 3.5 and a 4 out of 5. So I would recommend Roofman for sure. Let's see. It follows up. Greta Lee was so boring. Sam Flynn needs to come back. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I like Greta's character up to a point. It's just like the template of the story of Tron Ares is like, oh, we're going to be the good CEO and save the world. And, Evan Peters is just boring as the villain. Like, I'm going to be the bad guy, make a bunch of money for profit. I feel like I just saw that in the Alien Earth show with the Boy Cavalier character. It's like, do we really need to see that again? Maybe not. Oh, hey, Cinema Gulp. Chime in the comments. Have you seen any of these movies? Roofman, Good Boy, Tron Ares, Good Fortune, Black Phone 2. I'll shoot you a link if you have. And we could talk. Because I'm flying solo tonight. So yeah. Oh, here he goes. He says, Cinema Gulp says, I've been listening to the new Tron soundtrack all month, but I doubt I'll see the movie anytime soon. Yeah. I mean, if they've shot it in native 3D, I would say it's worth a full price because it would have been awesome. But they didn't. And again, the story, I mean, admittedly, you don't go to a Tron movie for the story. You go because of the visuals. But that's why I think more of the movie should have been set in the digital realm rather than the real world. So, next one I saw was Good Boy. That's the movie that is shot. Oh, hello, Daniel. Hot Topics. If you've not seen any of the movies, okay, well, I hope you kind of enjoy this take on it. Good Boy was the horror movie that has been shot from the perspective of a dog. Not to say it's like the literal point of view, like I shot. It's just the dog is their main character, and it's like the owner has inherited this house. He takes the dog up there. Owner's dealing with some mental health issues. He's got a disease. He's not really getting the treatment that he should. He's kind of stubborn and be tough about it. He's kind of rough with the dog at times because he's just going through shit. And at the same time, this house supposedly is haunted and has driven previous generations of their family crazy. So there's that going on. And, you could have a dog as a main character, but the problem with that is you can only carry the tension and suspense for so long when the main character is a dog. Because the dog is like, it gives the little reactions and you could stretch it. But eventually the tension has to break. And it tried really hard to be scary. I just didn't think it was. I thought it was really interesting at the end of the movie when they do a behind the scenes and show you that, don't worry, we didn't traumatize the dog. But they said this was the lead actor in the movie. That's his dog. And he's the one who made the movie with his wife. And the dog is not like a trained dog actor. It doesn't know that it's in a movie. And so they would spend like 4 hours trying to get the dog to look to the left and jump off an ottoman, so to speak. And things like that was just really, it's like, wow. And so they had over 400 shooting days over 4 years, I believe they said, which is really impressive. And cinematography is pretty good. Again, I just didn't think the movie was very scary. And even though it's only 73 minutes long, it feels a lot longer. But kudos to trying something original. I think maybe it would have been done better as a shorter movie, maybe 45 minutes. I guess I was just kind of, is Good Boy worth is Good Boy worth the watch or not worth it? I mean, it's very unique. I think it would maybe be like I saw it because I have Regal Unlimited, so it was free, so that was good. But I think it depends how I'm usually not scared of horror movies that much. Like 99% of them I don't think are scary. If you're somebody who gets scared of horror stuff easily, I'd say it's probably worth it. But for me, it didn't really cut it. But I'm still happy to go out and see it because, we should be supporting original movies. Oh yes, recommending to Cinema Gulp to go see it, to go see Tron Ares. Yes, the NCOM grid invasion scene, that was pretty good. I imagine that would look great in IMAX. Yeah, Nine Inch Nails is definitely how they've been promoting. Absolutely, Cinema Gulp. That is the best way to promote the movie. It is basically the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. So Good Boy, I gave like a 3 out of 5. It was okay. I wish it was better. Next, Good Fortune. This is the new Aziz Ansari made this film, and he plays like a guy who can barely get by. He's trying to get. He works for a company that it's like a task job where you basically get a random gig each day for whoever needs it, and he ends up doing some work around the house for this tech bro who lives in Beverly Hills. And meanwhile, there's a guardian angel played by Keanu Reeves, whose job it is to save people from texting while driving. And one day he decides to save Aziz Ansari's character, but he happens to read the text that he's texting, and he's just found out that he's not gotten a job he desperately needed. He's like, well, I guess I should just give up. Don't really want to live anymore. So he decides to intervene and go above his pay grade by causing him to switch lives with the tech bro that he's been working for, to show him that money doesn't solve all your problems. But then money solves all of his problems, and it becomes a comedy. And then the angel has to hang out with the tech bro who's now switched lives for a while. I thought it was just going to be like a dumb comedy, but it actually had a lot of heart in it and had some good character arcs. Then it kind of breaks the fourth wall and gets a little preachy at the end, where we tech bro people need to take care of our employees. It's like, yeah, right. I read a funny review on Letterboxd where somebody said, yeah, the scene where the reformed tech bro says we need to take care of our underlings is a scene they put in there to let you know that the movie is fiction, as opposed to the guardian angel bits. Cinema Gulp says, Good Boy is not scary, but if you're a dog owner, you will love the overall theme. Yeah, that's true, or a pet owner in general. Cinema Gulp, Keanu is God, not an angel. Of course, he should be God, but he's sort of playing like, like the Bill and Ted version of an angel. His boss thinks he's kind of dim, so she didn't want to give him a promotion. And even though she provides hints, because she can't come out and tell him directly how to fix this problem that he's created, because the only way they could switch lives or switch back to the way it was before would be if Ansari's character, who's now living the high life, genuinely wants to go back and has hope for his old life. And it actually did a good job telling a convincing story to make it seem like you could have that kind of arc. But it was really funny. It was really fun. And again, original movies, go support them. It was really fun. And fairly good comedy. So, yeah, and Keanu Reeves is, great and everything. Which is weird. He's like the only person who could do that whole surfer dude type thing and make an entire career out of it. But he's made it work. And so it was and Aziz Ansari actually directed the movie pretty good, pretty well directed. So yeah, I would go see it. Very good. I enjoyed myself. I gave it a 4. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a very good movie. Yes, Lol, this sounds like an interesting watch. It is. It's very bonkers, very funny, but it's also, again, tries to be heartfelt and stuff, and I think they actually did a good job with the characters. Now we get on to the big, in the spirit of Halloween season, the horror movie vibe, the Black Phone 2, with my little grabber doll that I found at this little shop that's got all sorts of pop culture stuff in there, all these old Star Wars toys and Marvel, all great comics, all sorts of neat shit in there. But this guy kind of jumped out at me, so I had to get the grabber, because that's just what you want to cuddle with tonight, isn't it? Of course, this is a sequel to The Black Phone, a 20-page short story written by Joe Hill. I'm surprised that he made it only a 20-page short story. I think there was enough in here you could have made a novella, if not a full novel, out of it. The first one, released a few years ago now in the summer, had really great tension and suspense and atmosphere, set in the 70s in Colorado, and so it really had that grimy, sort of old, grungy type of look to it. The idea that you had a weirdo grabber running around kidnapping kids, and now he's kidnapped one who is able to communicate with the dead kids with this black phone that's in the basement. It was a really neat kind of story. I thought it kind of had too neat of an ending, but I thought it was still an intelligent extrapolation of the short story. Like, how do you take a 20-page short story and turn it into a feature film? Like, for instance, in the book, Finney's sister doesn't have premonitions or wild dreams. She just had a weird dream once, and then they said, well, what if we turn that into like a supernatural premonition so she could see where the kids are and try and save her brother and stuff. So that was good. I unfortunately can't say much praises for the sequel. Oh, wait, here we go. So Daniel's Hot Topic says, scary movies don't scare me. I don't get it when I watch those reactions from the 13 from the theater goers. They were screaming when they watched scary movie like Halloween or Friday the 13th. Look at scary movies. I look at scary movies like mystery movies. They are interesting and got to watch the movie to figure out what's going on. Yeah. See, awesome plushie. Yes, thank you. It is an awesome plushie. No, I will not spoil Black Phone 2. I will not. No spoilers. All I will say is that reviewers have been saying that, or critics have been saying, it kind of has a Dream Warriors vibe to it, and it does. But it's almost like they don't want to riff into Nightmare on Elm Street too much, so they don't push it as far as they should. But it's like, I mean, it's not a spoiler. If you've seen the first movie, the grabber's dead. So it's like, okay, the first movie you have an actual child predator running around kidnapping your main character. He's got to figure out how to get out of the basement where he's going to die. And this one, it's like, okay, you have these visions of these past murders at a lake or at a youth camp, and it's out in the middle of nowhere in the snow. And you have these visions of the grabber haunting you still, because now he's basically a ghost like the kids were that he killed. And a very paper-thin story. But unlike Freddy Krueger, when he's in your nightmares and all sorts of crazy shit happens, it's more like, okay, the grabber's like a ghost when you're dreaming, but he's still a ghost. And like say if I were falling asleep right now and I were to be in the dream still sitting here, it's not like the room's going to start melting and weird shit starts happening. It's like, oh, the grabber's just here. So it's like they're not pushing the concept far enough. It was also a little slow. It had a bit of a sluggish pacing to it. It's 11 minutes longer than the first one, but it felt a lot longer. But again, the cinematography is great. They have a lot of heavy grain in it, and they do this neat thing with the camera during the dream sequences where it's slightly out of focus. It has heavier grain with a slightest little bluish tint to it, so it looks kind of creepy. Again, I just didn't think the stakes and the suspense was there. And it's like, they could have, I feel like we could have come up with a better plot line for a sequel like this. And maybe they should have leaned into that Nightmare on Elm Street vibe. Because to be fair, I mean, we haven't had a Nightmare on Elm Street movie in when was Wes Craven's New Nightmare? 94? Maybe? And forget the terrible remake from 2010. So I think it would have been fine, and Nightmare on Elm Street fans would have been fine if they leaned into that further for this movie. But it was okay. I gave it like 3 out of 5, 2.9, 3 out of 5. It just, I wish it was better. Nice. So, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, and that was again a kind of original new movie for the first one. So I was surprised when they announced a sequel. Maybe it's because they rushed into it that it just didn't. I mean, it's really gory still, and and Ethan Hawke's always great. He's mostly in his mask the whole time, and he's still really possessive about that. And we catch up with the family. They add some stuff to the lore in terms of who the grabber was, and some of the stuff I wasn't really crazy about, but yeah, so it was too bad. I did that as a double feature today with Good Fortune, and Good Fortune was definitely the better movie. Oh, got it right. Oh yeah, okay. Cinema Gulp, thanks for coming. Love you too. Great to see you. Thanks for popping in. Wow. I didn't think I'd get through all 5 of those movies that quickly. God, what else have I been doing? Well, I guess I could just chime in about other movies now since we're here. We can just talk. I have been rewatching the BBC Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch. I binged the first 6 over the last couple days. Those were better than... well, I hadn't seen them in a long time, so I couldn't remember them. But I like those. Those were good. I have yet to start reading... I got the entire thing right here. The complete Sherlock Holmes. Really tiny texts. They got to fit everything in there. You got 4 full novels and 56 short stories in here. But I'll get around to reading that soon once I finish up my other current reading list. Sure. Is there anybody else in the chat? Any type of movies you want me to talk about? I've seen quite a lot. Let's see here. Let me pull up my Letterboxd page. You can find me at SlySnide at Letterboxd. I've got a lot of movies on there. Let's see. What if I could just talk about I saw Him. Talked about that briefly last week. Him wasn't very good. Football satire that was too obvious. Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, not as bad as everybody said it was. One battle after another, not PTA's masterpiece. Not as great as everybody says it is, but it's still a really good, fun, crowd-pleasing chase movie. The Smashing Machine, yeah, disappointing. I've thought about more on the Smashing Machine because I've had a week to think about it now. And it's funny because it's like at the end of the movie, you have the intertitle saying, Mark Kerr, know his name. But I didn't really feel like that movie gave me a reason to know his name. because it's like nothing about him in that movie causes him to stand out as opposed to the other UFC fighters who feature in the film. And it didn't feel like there was a story. It didn't even have a beginning, middle, or end, so to speak. It's like we begin with him fighting in the Pride League in Japan. Okay. And it's like, okay, fighting in the Pride League, training for that, opioid addiction, numerous arguments with a girlfriend, rehab woes, rinse, dry, repeat, going around in a carousel, good performances, really great. But I didn't feel like it really told much of a story. And so Dwayne Johnson was great. As for why it tanked, I think that it didn't have positive word of mouth from people, because a lot of people felt the same way I did. And people who saw the 2002 documentary of the same name said this movie was basically a shot-for-shot remake of that, which is weird because it's like that documentary is from 2002, and this movie is being made 22 years later, which means you have an extra 22 years of this man's life that you can chronicle or shine a light on, and they didn't. But I think part of it is that when you cast Dwayne Johnson, who is an actual wrestler, to play a wrestler, granted UFC, it's like, well, why watch him play one when we could just watch his actual wrestling footage? Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't think it means his star power is faded. I just think that means people prefer to go out and see your typical run-of-the-mill Dwayne Johnson action summer fair type movie, as opposed to something like The Smashing Machine. But it is worth mentioning that the director of that film, Benny Safdie, did win the top prize for directing at the Venice Film Festival. So that's the Venice International Film Festival. So that's a big deal. So maybe other people will feel differently. Christopher Nolan apparently praised it recently. He said he thought the movie was misunderstood and thinks it's a really great movie and hopes it finds its audience. So that's nice to hear, filmmakers supporting other filmmakers. It just wasn't as much for me as I wanted it to be. Oh, The Long Walk. I love The Long Walk. I gave that 4.5 stars. As much as I love Mark Hamill, I think he was hamming it up a bit too much as the Major, but Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson are going to be stars. They are just great. And it was such a riveting movie. I've already pre-ordered the 4K Steelbook. It's set to arrive November 28th. And that's just the delivery date, which is usually not for me. They don't get it to me on the release date. So I'm surprised it's coming out that quick. Because usually a movie will go to VOD within like a month nowadays, which is ridiculous. And then physical media maybe 3 or 4 months later. But the fact that it's going on physical 2 months later, barely 2.5 months, I'm surprised by that. That's really fast. And for that matter, I think what's been killing box office for a lot of people, or a lot of studios, is the fact that it's not just that things are too expensive, it's that studios are dumping movies on VOD within a month of release. Like Superman, big summer blockbuster movie, released July 11th, released on VOD August 16th. I'm like, really? You're going to give your movie, let's see, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So that's technically 37 release days, because movies come out on Thursdays now, basically. You're going to give your movie like 36 or 37 solid individual days of theatrical release before you put it on VOD. It's like so many people are going to save money, and that's a big family type movie. But no, they're going to stay home and wait so they can save their money and just pay the 25 or 30 bucks to watch it at home, because that means you're not having to buy a billion movie tickets. So that I think is a lot to do with why box office is going down, because unless it's a movie which looks like it demands to be seen on the big screen, it's like, well, it's going to be on VOD in a month, on physical in 2 months, and streaming in 3 months. So it's like you don't need to rush to the water cooler, so to speak. You could wait a couple months and then see it, and I think that's a big problem. Even at CinemaCon this year, one of the CEOs of the theater, I can't remember which one it was, one of the theater chain CEOs says, well, we know we're never getting the 3-month theatrical window back. And I'm like, why not? It's mutually beneficial. Studios make the most money on their movies in theaters. It's been proven over and over again. Even Netflix's CEO, who has open contempt for movie theaters, admitted that, yeah, we left a lot of money on the table when we dumped the Knives Out sequel on Netflix a few years ago. And it's like, yeah, you think, And that movie only had a 1-week theatrical release, because the Academy rules at the time where you only needed to have like a 1-week release in select cities to qualify for awards. But this new one apparently is getting an even smaller release, which means it probably won't qualify for awards. Not that I don't know if Netflix cares about that at this point. Well, usually they do, maybe just not for that movie. So it's like, I hate it, but like, I remember when you used to have to wait like 6 months to get a movie on DVD after theatrical release, and there was no streaming back then. Or if it was a holiday movie, like a Christmas movie, they would wait a full year. You'd have to wait a full year before it got put out on physical because they figured nobody's going to buy a Christmas movie in the spring or the summer. They'll get it next Christmas. And I remember one of the longest waits for a new released movie was in that vein was The Phantom Menace. That was released May 1999. It didn't get back then it was VHS. They didn't give a VHS release until April 2000, which is crazy for a non-holiday movie to have to wait 11 months to get the physical. I remember they gave it a brief week-long re-release in December 99 to try and pep out the numbers. But yeah, there's no law that says the studios can't go back to having longer release windows. Because if you create the demand or create a sense of urgency, people will go see it. Like the Matt Reeves Batman movie was 3 hours long just about, or over 3 hours with trailers. And it released March 1st or 2nd, but they dumped it on streaming April 21st, I believe it was. Well, and they advertised the fact that it was going to be on streaming on April 21st. So if you tell people you're oh, don't worry, you don't have to go see this movie in theaters. It's going to be on streaming in a month. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, it's like you're cutting your own movie off at the knees. It's ridiculous. Dale's Hot Topic says, I miss Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Black Adam. I do too. You never know if Warner Brothers gets bought out. James Gunn may be out, and the Snyderverse. No, the Snyderverse is never returning because the reality is Snyderverse wasn't as popular as people wanted it to be. It wasn't making the money. That Man of Steel was divisive. Batman versus Superman, the extended cut was significantly better, but even that was a divisive film because what the hell are you doing shoehorning in the Death of Superman storyline and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and hints of that into a movie called Batman versus Superman? It's like that is your marquee event. That is your movie. You don't need Lex Luthor manipulating that conflict. There's enough interesting ideological reasons for them to face off. And that whole movie felt like it was just foreshadowing what the next one was going to be rather than investing its time in what that movie was supposed to be. Same with his version of Justice League. It's like, okay, I've seen both versions of Justice League. Yeah, his isn't as goofy as Joss's, but it feels like it's just a longer version of the same movie. And it's obviously not the real Snyder cut because if they had never fired him, they wouldn't let him release a 4-hour movie in theaters. The only reason that movie's 4 hours long is because it was a streaming special. And that was the same thing. That whole movie was obsessed with foreshadowing what was coming rather than investing in that particular story they were telling. And that wasn't going to make a ton of money either. So no, they're not bringing the Snyderverse back. And I don't think they should at this point because, again, it's a guarantee box office-wise you're not going to get all those fans there. You're not going to get like the Snyderverse people are loud online, but they're not as big and numerically as they think they are. So that's not going to happen. And they've already moved in another direction. It's also streaming is killing the box office. Yes, it is. Why pay $12 for a ticket or even $5 on Tuesday cheap night when you can stream it online for freaking free? Exactly. Especially if you already have streaming. You can wait a few months and boom, there it is. So why do that? And he follows up. Yeah, what was Doomsday? Was it a clone of Zod or was it Zod just... See, I don't know. Here's the thing. I thought Doomsday in that movie, Batman versus Superman, was like an anthropomorphic turd monster. It's like you went from an ideological conflict between Batman and Superman, but should have been layered more, and yet your climax is a giant CG turd monster fighting Superman. Like, what the hell is this? I'm like, I paid to see Batman versus Superman. And as a friend of mine, my friend Dave, who co-hosts my Star Wars show on the Virtual Cantina Network, he's like, you literally had The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller sitting right there. Just tell that story, especially since Ben Affleck's Batman was sort of an over-the-hill Batman anyway. Like we saw that he had Robin's costume from, the Robin that was murdered by the Joker. So it's like, why not just do The Dark Knight Returns, your own live-action proper version of that? It was literally right there. And instead they did this cannibalized weird thing that, again, was always obsessed with dropping so many hints of what was coming, being Darkseid. But it's like, no, you should be getting excited for the Batman versus Superman aspect of this story, not foreshadowing Darkseid to oblivion. And they did the same thing in Justice League, where it's like, okay, your villain is... Oh, God, what was the guy's name? See, I've already forgotten what the villain's name was of Justice League. Somebody in the chat, remind me. But... it's like rather than investing in his story, they still foreshadow the hell out of Darkseid again. It's like, no, we should be invested in this villain and what's going on. Steppenwolf, that's what it was. We should be invested in this character and that storyline. And it just, and again, I also felt with the Snyderverse that they missed an opportunity to do a standalone Superman movie once he was working at the Daily Planet. They rushed into the shared universe. Marvel made the same mistake with Steve Rogers, whereas the first Captain America movie I thought was neat because in reality, Jack Kirby created Captain America's propaganda, which is why the picture on Captain America #1 is him punching Hitler. And they alluded to that in the movie by having him being created as, propaganda for the war. So I thought that was neat. And Red Skull was essentially a Hitler stand-in. But at the end of the movie, they have shoehorn him into the Avengers timeline in 2011, and I'm like, you know how cool it would have been to see a proper Captain America sequel set in the 50s? That's where the Winter Soldier should have been set, in the 1950s with the Red Scare. Have Red Guardian, but not have him be a joke, like Captain America versus Red Guardian and the Red Scare and all that. And then a third one set in like the late 60s, early 70s, when Americans were very cynical about their government. That would have been a great Captain America story. But no, because we have to get him into the shared universe, so let's just freeze him for 70 years. Ugh. And they did the same thing with the new Fantastic Four movie. I thought the opening montage in that movie is great. It was a crime that they cut John Malkovich's scenes as Red Ghost. I thought Paul Walter Hauser was great as Mole Man. He stole every scene he was in. But then they had to shoehorn them into the shared universe at the end of the movie to get them to Avengers Doomsday. And if Feige's words hold true that Secret Wars is going to be a hard reboot, I interpret that to mean that we're probably not going to get another standalone Fantastic Four movie with that cast, which is unfortunate. And so I felt the same thing happened in the Snyderverse, or the whole Snyderverse, where, yeah, I actually liked Man of Steel, but at the end of that movie, it feels like the promise is going to be a proper Superman movie now where he's at the Daily Planet and all that. But no, we had to rush into the shared universe. Like, everybody in these studios are obsessed with shared universes. So I'm so happy that Matt Reeves put his foot down and said, no, we are not letting my Batman movies exist in the shared universe of James Gunn's world. Comic Creator, okay, I'm back. Hey, Comic Book Relief Creator. Hi, thanks for coming. Daniel's Hot Topic says, yeah, which version was canon? Justice League or the Snyder Cut? Like to think they were branching reality. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter because the Snyder Cut was the send-off to that universe. Sort of like right now with James Gunn's version. He's like, well, Peacemaker's canon. It's like, well, season 1 can't, the entirety of Peacemaker season 1 can't really be canon. I assume that the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn made is canon, but does that mean Birds of Prey is canon or maybe not? So it's confusing. But I remember that, what's his name? The Idris Elba character from the Suicide Squad was not dead. Was it Deadshot or was it? It was basically another version of Deadshot. He's in jail. He's got a daughter, just like Deadshot did. So it's like you're doing that same character again, almost like that was James Gunn's way of saying the David Ayer Suicide Squad is not canon. My version is. So when I look at the DCU, I like to think that the Suicide Squad is canon. Birds of Prey is not. Most of Peacemaker season 1, I guess, and most season 2. That's what's frustrating. It's like, if you're going to do a hard reboot, do a hard reboot. The reason the New 52 failed is because they promised fans it was going to be a standalone, it was going to be a hard reboot. 4 pages, I think, into Batman #1, he comes up the elevator, Bruce Wayne comes up the elevator from the Batcave, and he's greeted by Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, and Damian Wayne. I'm like, what the hell? It's like, I thought you said this was a hard reboot, and you have all of this history there. And as you started reading through the New 52 Batman line, things were happening which suggested, oh, wait, this must mean this past comic is canon, that past comic is canon. And DC's like, oh, yeah, well, some of these we cherry-picked to still be canon. It's like, you got to tell us this shit, you know? So it eventually collapsed in on itself. And I feel the same thing is going on with the James Gunn thing. It's like, well, either all of Peacemaker is canon or maybe none of it is. But no, he's trying to do this weird cross. Some of it is, some of it isn't. It bugs me. And it also bugs me that his Superman movie, Superman didn't feel that unique considering that there's all these other metahumans still around. And if you can go back and look at our playlist. Scott and I reviewed the Superman movie. He loved it. I wasn't so hot on it. Daniel's Hot Topic says, or one could be what becomes the Nightmare timeline and the other is the Triumphant time. Yeah, they could have done that. But again, unfortunately, those movies were not financially successful enough to the old regime's liking, particularly with the amount they're spending on the budget. And frankly, even with the money they were making, when you have that much of a divisive reaction to each movie, it's like you need to find something that's going to harmoniously bring people in a lot more. Daniel says, I love shared universes. I hope they spin off Meteoroid and Star Fox from Super Mario Galaxy so we can have a Nintendo Cinematic Universe and the crossover could be Super Smash Brothers. I think that's probably more likely since Nintendo has created, their own film division now. And that's, I think, you could do a shared universe, right? Like the first 3 phases of Marvel, it didn't get too crazy. You didn't have any streaming shows. There was no continuity confusion. Everything, and you didn't have too many characters with their own thing. It was easy to follow each segment. Like the first phase 1, You had a Hulk movie, two Iron Man movies, one Thor movie, and one Captain America movie. Avengers, boom, easy to follow. Phase 2, same thing. It was easy to follow that thing, and then Phase 4 and 5 just started creating so much chaos with so many streaming shows, and on top of that, every streaming show had a cliffhanger, which Feige said aren't really going to be paid off. So it's like it's bad enough you have all these streaming shows and all these cavalcade of new movies. The continuity isn't clear between any of them. It's way too much trying to juggle, and all these teases. It's like, where are we going with this? It's just, I don't know if Avengers Doomsday is going to do as well, because you can't really think about it as a sequel to Endgame. Yes, the first 4 Avengers movies made over $1 billion each, but in Endgame and Infinity War's case over $2 billion. But this isn't a sequel to Endgame, not a proper sequel. This is a sequel to Phase 4 and 5. Who's going to follow the story? Who's going to know what's going on? I don't think as many people are as excited about this movie as they think. I think they're more excited to see the X-Men come back, probably, but we'll see how it goes. Daniel's Hot Topic says, yes, hi. Daniel says hi to the Comic Relief Crusader. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Oh, and currently, God, there's 2 big movies slated for release next year. I can't remember what they are. Doomsday and something else. Everyone is going to watch it. I don't know about that. Everyone's going to watch it to see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I think everybody tuned out to the tune of $1.9 billion to see Spider-Man No Way Home because they wanted to see. It had been 14 and a half years since you'd seen Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And then Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, which, yeah, the movies weren't so hot, but people really liked Andrew Garfield in that role, and that's what they wanted to see. Well, they've seen that already. And given how massive the cast is for Doomsday, are they going to turn out? Maybe. We'll see. I'm just not feeling a lot of buzz for this. I hope it's good. And I just don't see the wisdom in acknowledging that this multiverse thing has been a problem and saying we're not going to spend 1, but 2 Avengers movies to get out of this problem. It's like, no. You could have put the kibosh on the multiverse with Deadpool and Wolverine last year, and they did, because that was a totally gobbledygook story that they just pulled out of their ass. And so they could have just come up with a gobbledygook reason, which, the multiverse doesn't exist. We can't cross over anymore. It's over, and with the timelines, and be done with it. And they didn't. So now we have to spend 2 Avengers movies to fix the problem. And it feels like Doomsday is going to have a lot of heavy lifting to do, because we got to do a proper introduction for Doctor Doom, proper introduction for the X-Men. All these characters, they're probably going to do the thing where characters don't realize they're on the same side and can start fighting each other. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I hope it does well. I hope it's a good movie, but we'll see. Also, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man working together would be fantastic. Yeah, maybe. Has Hugh Jackman been confirmed to come back? I guess I assume he would, but we don't know yet. Or at least I don't know yet. Every Marvel fan back in the early 2000s wanted to see that. Okay, they did. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it, but I tell you what I want to see. I want to go back to a standalone Spider-Man movie, which is not in the shared universe. Just let it be street level Spider-Man, his own thing. And it's a shame that after No Way Home basically ended in a way to give us that opportunity, that it sounds like they're shoehorning in all sorts of characters with the new Spider-Man movie. You know, Hulk, Punisher, Scorpion, and plus some female villain. We don't know who that's going to be yet. And it's like, do we need all this stuff in there? I mean, yeah, Scorpion would be cool, but I doubt he's going to be the main villain, even though I'd like him to be. Michael Mando is a great actor. And I think he would be really good as the lead, but he's probably not going to be. And again, the shared universe stuff that they got to worry about, because it was confirmed. Tom Holland mentioned in an interview, I think last year, that once the release dates for Doomsday and Spider-Man got shuffled, they had to go back to the drawing board with their Spider-Man story, because it was originally going to take place after Doomsday to be in line with the release dates. But once Doomsday got delayed, it's like, well, then we have to go back and rework the story to put it beforehand. I'm like, guys, that's not how you write a movie. To write a movie around the release date, it's like, no, that's why you shouldn't have everything cross over so much. It's like you ended No Way Home in a perfect way. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is. He's just settled down in New York. Just tell a classic Spider-Man story on its own. That would be great. But no, we're going to shoehorn in a bunch of other crap. So we'll see. Daniel's Hot Topic says, do you remember back in the early 2000s, X-Men came out in the year 2000. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came out in May 2002. Ang Lee's Eric Bana Hulk came in June 2003. And F4 came out in 2005. And so on. There was talk of... again, that's a part 1. We'll get to the... I guess there was probably talk of a crossover. I guess you're alluding to. maybe in the fans were talking about that. I don't recall a lot of industry people talking about it. I mean, I kind of like the Ang Lee Hulk movie. I mean, it gets a lot of shit. I mean, yeah, a lot of the animation stuff wasn't so hot, but I actually thought the Ang Lee Hulk story had a better story and heart to it than the Edward Norton one, because while the Edward Norton one was better quality in terms of the technical and the acting and all that, it just starts with him. They don't even invest in the Bruce Banner. He's already the Hulk at the start of that movie. I like the fact that Ang Lee's gives you a long, prolonged story, and I actually like that. Compared to the Edward Norton one, even though the Norton one's still good. Daniel Hot Topic says there was talk of an intercompany crossover in 2011 or 2012 to have an Avengers movie with all these characters, but the companies of Fox, Sony, and Universal did not get along or agree on nothing. Yeah, that sounds about right, because funny thing is that Marvel had no problem working with Universal to do The Incredible Hulk in 2008, but then once Disney bought Marvel, suddenly they're not playing ball with Universal anymore, and something tells me that Disney is the bad guy there as opposed to Universal, which is why Hulk can only be in a supporting capacity rather than having his own movie. So yeah, it's we're not, because the thing about movies like that as well, you got to make the money really make sense for big studios to get involved. I mean, obviously there's a ton of movies out there where you have several production companies holding the bag to mitigate risk, but you never really see that, unfortunately, with the major studios who have all the big IPs. And to think with the amount of shit that Disney owns now, you can have some pretty badass crossovers. Like somebody mentioned, since Disney owns, Star Wars and the Predator universe, hey, you can have Predators going after Ewoks, Murder Bears versus Predators. You can make it happen tomorrow. I think people would go see it. I mean, I would. That'd sound kind of fun. Speaking of which, nothing in the Predator Badlands trailers have been exciting me. It kind of looks like, I don't like that the Predator's CGI for the most part, especially the face. It looks too fake. He moves too much like a human. The dialogue that's all sometimes feels too human. It's PG. I don't mind that it's PG-13 in the sense that, okay, it's not as gory, whatever. But it feels like they're going for a more almost family kid-friendly vibe with the jokey thing with the robot or whatever. And it's like, this one I'm not as excited for. And I'll see it because I got, it's a Predator movie. I'll check it out. But I'm not as hyped for that. I did watch Predator, Killer of Killers, the animated film. That was good for what it was. I'm not big onto that type of animation, but it was a decent story. I think I could have, could have done a little more character work, but it was still good. Daniel Topic says, speaking of Predator, did you know what is happening in that universe? Sigourney Weaver confirmed she will return in the next Alien. Yes, she said that she was given the first 50 pages of the script, and she said it was good and she liked it. No word on what the timeline is for that movie in terms of where in the universe timeline does it take place. I mean, and for that matter, I just saw Alien Earth. I didn't really like it very much. I didn't think there was enough material there to stretch it into 8 episodes. And the fact that it doesn't have a resolution, it's a cliffhanger. And the fact that it's a cliffhanger when they don't even know if season 2 will even be greenlit yet is a crime. It's like, don't do that. Especially since Noah Hawley did the Fargo series, which is an anthology series. So each season tells its own complete story. So it doesn't matter if the show gets canceled because you will have had a complete story told. And in Alien Earth, it wasn't that. Too many dumb things in Alien Earth. I don't like the fact that the Wendy character was able to control the xenomorph in the same way that Owen Grady was able to control the raptors in the Jurassic World movies. That was really stupid. Don't like that the xenomorph was practically invincible. Plenty of times get shot at, nothing happens. They didn't follow through on a few things. It just stretched too thin, and just a lot of things I didn't care for with that show. And I only bring that up because that show takes place like the year before the original Alien movie. And then after, I can't remember how many years after Alien, but then you had Alien Romulus takes place after the first one, which I kind of liked Alien Romulus in terms of the lore and the visuals and all of that. I didn't think it was scary, which it should have been. I mean, well, the climax I thought was pretty good. The climax was sort of alluding to Alien Resurrection with the cross-human alien hybrid. I thought that was a lot scarier and better done in Alien Romulus than it was in Alien Resurrection. So I'll give them that. And I think it's already understood that Alien 3 and Resurrection aren't even part of this timeline anymore, wherever this new Sigourney Weaver's movie is going to be. Daniel says, I bet the 2 people at the end of Alien Romulus will wake up 2 centuries in the future and run into the clone of Ripley after Resurrection. We see, that's the thing. I don't know if Alien 3 and Resurrection are going to be part of the new canon, because everybody was so upset when Alien 3 decided to kill off Newton Hicks in the way that they did. And then I mean, I like Alien 3, but it feels more like a prison movie, which happens to have an alien in it rather than a full-blown alien movie. And then Resurrection is bonkers and wacky, which had a good ensemble, but it was still a bit too wacky for me. I don't think they're gonna. Those movies honestly don't have the best reputations in the Alien canon anyway, so I don't think those are going to be included in this new canon, especially since with Alien Earth and stuff, they sort of they didn't fully retcon Prometheus and Covenant out of existence, but that whole cliffhanger ending of Covenant where David is on the ship with all the thousands of facehugger eggs, that's never going to get paid off. We don't know where that's going to go, and technically, I bet that's not part of the canon anymore either. So I don't think Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are going to be part of the canon anymore either. What? No, they deleted Alien 3. No, I didn't say they've done it yet. I just think they will because those movies weren't as popular with the fans and haven't had the same, longevity. Fans don't look back on those two movies as fondly as they do as the first two movies. Yeah, Alien 3 was a good movie. I like the producer's cut of Alien 3. I think it's called the producer's cut, or is it the editor's cut? The one that's like 30 minutes longer. I thought that was quite good. Hashtag for Sigourney. Hashtag for Sigourney. Okay. Yeah, and we'll see if this script goes anywhere. I remember Neil Blomkamp was writing an Alien 5 a long time ago, which was going to have Sigourney in it, and then Ridley Scott got jealous and decided to derail that to do Prometheus. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. And her saying the first 50 pages of the script are great. It's like, yeah, actor says movie they're possibly going to be in is going to be great. I was like, okay, we'll see if it's actually going to be any good. But I just don't know about that. I feel, especially with things like Alien Romulus and Alien Earth, they're always going back to the imagery of Alien 1. It's like, look, if you're not going to capture the tone and the atmosphere of the first Alien, then stop homaging it, And like that's one of the things that undid Alien Romulus. It just had too many cutesy callbacks to the dialogue and the things from the first movie rather than letting it be its own thing. Oh, thank you, Old Man Bird, for the super sticker. That very generous of you. Yeah, I'm flying solo tonight, and I did reviews. You can go back and watch. I covered Roofman, Good Boy, Tron Ares, Good Fortune, and Black Phone 2. And now we're just talking about other fun industry, other stuff that's been going on in pop culture. I've been going over my other films I've seen on Letterboxd. Oh, I saw Nobody 2. It's kind of like a streaming movie that they put in the theater. Christopher Lloyd's a national treasure. They should have given him more to do in that movie. Caught Stealing was the most mainstream Darren Aronofsky film I've ever seen. It was fun. It was silly. Austin Butler's a certified star. But I'm very surprised that that's something that Darren Aronofsky wanted to make. Daniel Sawtopic says, I remember in the early 2000s going on the internet and looking for information on Alien 5, and there was an official website for it. It was epic, and then it was canceled. What happened, I wonder? Well, what happened is that Ridley Scott got jealous because early 2000s they were talking about it, and it probably fell apart for other industry reasons. They didn't want to do it. And then when Neil Blomkamp resurrected that like 10 years later, Ridley Scott derailed it. I don't know why it fell apart the first time. I remember those websites, what you're talking about, though, from the early 2000s. Yeah, thumbs up. But then, I mean, I'm surprised that in the 6 years since Disney bought Fox, the Predator and Alien franchises are really the only thing they've been utilizing. Which excuse me, on the one hand, is not surprising. Excuse me, because it's a franchise. The studios love their franchises, so they're going to put something out. But they haven't really done much with the rest of the Fox library. They haven't even put them all on Hulu yet, even though Disney... Well, it's not going to be Hulu next year. They're going to fold it into Disney Plus, which I think is a mistake. I mean, I get the idea of wanting to streamline. It's easier to have just one streaming service than two, but Hulu is the name I think people associate with higher quality than Disney Plus. So I don't know how that's going to work for them. I'm sensing we're going to have a branding reversal after next year, sort of like with HBO Max. Then it became Max, and then it's back to HBO Max, and yeah, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, there's all sorts of Fox properties that Disney's just done jack shit with since they bought the studio, which is why I don't like all these mergers and these companies being allowed to buy everything. It's like, yeah, you buy it to increase the value of portfolio, but then you leave everything sitting there rotting, collecting dust, rather than doing anything with it. No, I don't want Warner Brothers to get bought by anybody. I know that Zaslav is only open to a sale if he gets to be head honcho still. But it's like, no, if I'm a shareholder of Warner Brothers, it's like, well, if you merge with another company, that means your shares are not going to have, you're not going to have as big of a percentage anymore because you're going to be merged with all the other shareholders in the new company. and you're not having as much power anymore. So I don't get the appeal. Well, I mean, there is an appeal if they happen to get some more money out of it, but that's really, I hate it. I just wish they, God, I hope that Warner Brothers doesn't get so, like, they're on the up and up. Pam Abdi, Mike DeLuca had their contracts renewed when it looked like they were done for a few months ago. And it's like, if they go through with the Warner Brothers Discovery split in April, then Warner Brothers will offload all its debt onto Discovery because Discovery can pay off that debt faster than Warner Brothers can. And I think that would be good. That would be good for the company. And I hope that it stays its own company. It's crazy to me enough that Skydance was able to buy Paramount, because Skydance isn't even 20 years old yet. And yet they were in a position to buy a studio that was over 110 years old. It's insane to think that that actually happened. And that's what nobody on the internet, YouTube, fanboys, whatever, ever talk about how atrocious of a job Paramount CEO has done over the last 15 years to run that company into the ground, to be in a position where it had to be purchased, where it had to be saved basically by Skydance, which is just, oh, God, it's so crazy to me that that's going on. So yeah, there's that going on. So we talked about weapons. I thought it was a little slow. I didn't care for the plot structure. For such a strong hook in that movie, the way they give you the reveal, it's such a nonchalant thing. It doesn't feel like a surprise when it's like, oh, okay, this is what happened. Okay, like, come on. I think they could have done that better. Naked Gun, really fun slapstick comedy. Check it out. I Know What You Did Last Summer, a reboot that nobody asked for, which is like, why are we making this? But okay. Let's see, what else did I watch? Oh yeah, I saw the Freakier Friday sequel just because I was killing time while doing a triple feature of something else. Yeah, when you're trying to add more, like 2 extra characters and cram in the same runtime from the first one, it means you're more plot driven than character driven. So, whatever. Basically a Disney Plus movie. They got a theatrical release, but they got some money out of it, and I think they made their budget back, so that's good. Jurassic. I can't remember if we did a review for Jurassic World Rebirth. I don't know why it was called Rebirth, because nothing about the story has anything to do with Rebirth. Wasn't very good. Again, CGI dinosaurs mostly, really cheap story. The Spinosaurus sequence was cool, but again, that movie is burdened with a lot of callbacks to the first movies. Like, stop reminding me of better movies. Let it be its own thing. And then it was also really slow. It never felt like it never really took off, which was a shame. And it was bizarre that Gareth Edwards had a plot point where, well, nobody cares about dinosaurs anymore, so we have to acknowledge that in the movie. Like, who the fuck says people don't care about dinosaurs anymore? Everybody loves dinosaurs. And let's see if we have any requests for topics you'd like me to talk about. I think we're nearing the end of this stream. I've been on for 58 minutes just about. I was holding out hope, hoping that maybe Steve would show up, and he didn't. Scott is busy doing Scotty things, like he's been for the last 3 months since he hasn't been on the channel. And Ernesto was out seeing, I believe he went out to see a couple movies tonight, which is why he was not available. But tomorrow, I will be getting in the mail the 4K steelbooks of Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. So I will look forward to revisiting those films in due time. Well, I'll keep this going for maybe another 90 seconds at least, so we can go a solid hour, which would be kind of fun. Oh, speaking of Letterboxd, I just logged 2,100 films on Letterboxd. That's a good milestone to hit, I guess. The oldest movie I've seen on here, probably... God, what is the oldest movie I've seen? That's a good question. Let's see. That's actually kind of fun. Decade. Let's see. Ooh, we have movies going all the way back to the 1870s. That is insane. Let's see. Sort by release date, earliest first. Let's see. The earliest film I have logged is The Execution of Mary, Queen of Scots from 1895. And that's more like a, what is it, like 1 minute long? Let's see, how long is that movie? That is, ooh, it doesn't say on the desktop version. Yeah, it's like a minute long, I think. But that was really neat to see something from 1895. And then I watched, for the first time today, a 30-second film called Sherlock Holmes Baffled. They only call the character Sherlock Holmes for brand recognition. But that film is neat because that one is about a burglar is stealing stuff from this guy's house, and Sherlock walks in, sees him. The burglar disappears. Sherlock panics and starts putting things away. The guy reappears out of nowhere. Sherlock gets out his gun and fires. The guy disappears again. And it's basically showing the audiences the magic of movie editing, how you can make somebody disappear out of nowhere. And Sherlock doesn't solve the case because the burglar's just gone, and he's like baffled by it. Hence the title, Sherlock Holmes Baffled, from 1900. Oh, hello. Movies back. Yeah, I don't know what Letterboxd lets you go back. I'm guessing those are derogatory type things, but for some reason, Letterboxd website, when you can go sorting movies by the year, it can go all the way back to 1870s, and I don't understand that because movies came along in the 1890s. So I don't get what that is about. I don't have any films from the 1870s. Why? That's got to be a glitch or something. Oh, here we go. We have 32 films from the 1870s. Okay, so those are the type of movies, the zoetrope type films. Or the ones where you peek through the little, what were they called? Like those nickel and dime things where you crank the thing and you watch the little video, like that kind of thing. But those aren't traditional movies. Like, for instance, a photo sequence. Here's one called Passage of Venus from 1874. It's a photo sequence of the rare transit of Venus over the face of the sun. One of the first chronophotographic sequences. In 1873, P.J.C. Janssen, or Pierre-Jules César Janssen, invented the photographic revolver, which captured a series of images in a row. The automatic device produced images in a row without human intervention, being used to serve as photographic evidence of the passage of Venus before the sun in 1874. So yeah, it's like a like those types of movies. So they're not like, traditional movies. So that answers. So that's what that's about. Yeah. Oh, hello, Herc 130. Yes, hello, welcome. We're about at the end of the show, I guess, because I can't think of anything. I've been kind of rambling for a while. I'm trying to think of some other things to talk about. For new people who just joined the chat, check out my little plushie. It's the Grabber. Saw this at like an independent store that's got comic books. It's got old Star Wars toys, Marvel, so it's got all sorts of crazy shit in there that you can enjoy. Oh man. What else has happened in the world of movies? Oh yeah, we lost Robert Redford and Claudia Cardinale, 2 movie stars, certified bona fide movie stars. My God. Oh, and we lost Drew Struzan, the wonderful movie poster painter, who painted so many posters for movies from all of our childhoods, which we grew up absolutely loving. Lost him, and then we just lost the co-founder of KISS today, Paul Fraley. Let's see what else we got going on here in the world of film. I don't know. Well, I gotta check. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's about it. I haven't caught up on much else lately. I did see that movie, The Roses, with Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. It would have been great if the majority of the movie was just them sniping at each other and fighting, but most of it is like the bulk of their marriage before it dissolves late in the movie's 4th quarter. It's like it took too long to get there, but it was okay. Again, not as good as I would have liked it to be. So I guess that's it. If you guys are cool, I don't think anybody else is jumping on this stream. And yeah, I guess that's our show. This has been Cat's Movie Corner. I will have new movies to show off next week as I get my new steelbooks. Actually, maybe I'll show you that. So look at here's all my wall of steelbooks, and I got more of them up there in big cases. Those big shelves you see way over there behind the lamp are all my books and comics. And aside from steelbooks, I got Criterion's way over there. Okay, it's tipping the laptop here. But way over. Let's see, there and down there are all my Criterions. A couple of Arrow films that are in there as well. So I don't quite have my own Criterion closet, but I got something going for it. Yeah, thanks, Herc 130. You're gonna catch us on the replay. Yeah, I gave a rundown of the 5 movies mentioned in the title because nobody else was available tonight. And yeah, I will do. I've been doing some house cleaning. I will give you guys the F1 movie review on Thursday, November 6th. That is a hard date for that. No more delays for that. That is definitely coming. Trying to find out if we can do a Halloween show on Thursday the 30th. Figure out if I can get some people around for that and we can have some fun. We did that 4 years ago, and we had a blast. It was like a 7-hour video. So yeah, thanks for coming, Herc, and Daniel, Old Man Bird. Thank you, and you keep the lights on around here, Old Man Bird, with the super chats. And Cinema Gulp, thanks for coming. Comic Relief Crusader, thanks for checking us out and chiming in. And the Tron Ares NCOM scene was mind blowing. Thank you for showing up. I kind of neat how you change your name out every week. That's kind of fun. And then Words and Pictures, thank you for chiming in, even though you were in Dreamland as we were recording this, as you wrote. So yeah, thanks to everybody for showing up. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys. Oh yeah, that's me and Ray Park and Ian McDiarmid. I got that at Celebration Chicago, the Star Wars convention back in April 2019. That's pretty. I love it. I got to get a proper frame for that because I absolutely love it. I have other things to show off that I'll probably show off next time, probably next week, because we've been on. I guess we've been on for a good show now. So yeah, I keep saying I'm turning this into a Burnett goodbye, where I keep saying I'm leaving and then I keep going. So I'm gonna end the stream now. So thank you all, and have a blessed, safe week, and happy Halloween times.